It's the Underdogs back with you for another week. I'm Jordan Brenner, joined as always by the best co-host in the land, Peter Keating. This week, we're going to weigh the outcome of the NBA offseason. We're going to look at some soccer picks we got right and explain why that's the case. But first, Peter, we're a little bit less than a week away from the Home Run Derby, which has become one of our favorite staples of midsummer. And we've got some awesome research to share with you, the listener.
We are continuing our streak of favorite summer shows. I don't have to tell you, last week's show was the biggest wiener of the year, and we got to keep that streak alive. It's wiener take all, Jordan.
Yeah, look, I'm still recovering from Mickey Studo eating 51 hot dogs. I'm blowing away all our expectations.
I'm still digesting those results myself.
Yeah, that's right. But let's, I don't think anyone listening, except maybe my mother, wants another week of hot dog puns from us.
No. Even Mickey Studo is probably weary of talking about it.
Jesus. All right, let's move on. So the Derby, okay? And we have 6 of the 8 participants so far, so you can't even bet it right now. But we're going to pick one. You and I, we're going to pick one of the 6 who's in it right now to win.
Jordan, when have incomplete results ever stopped us from making cheerfully speculative but analytically informed bets on outcomes?
Right. But what I'm more excited to do, to be honest, is to crush a myth once and for all. We talked about this a little last year, but we've got even better research now. And that is this. There is a prevailing sentiment, and I had it last night when I was with a couple buddies at the bar doing trivia, that the Home Run Derby messes up players' swings.
Oh yeah.
The curse of the Derby.
Yeah. You got and play in the backyard, and you're never the same again, Jordan.
You enter,
how does that work?
You enter, you change your swing, you come out, and you can't hit home runs at the same rate. So, Peter, this totally sounds totally understandable, right? There couldn't possibly be another explanation for why some guys' home runs decline in the second half.
You know how when you call, have you ever tried to call? I don't know if you've deigned to call sports radio shows. You get on and you're in a line, right? You have to wait 48 minutes or whatever to get on. You know how you can get on the air automatically in New York? You just call up and you say you want to talk about the Home Run Derby curse. Because about 15 years ago, David Wright, brilliant young player for the Mets, entered the Home Run Derby. The world was full of optimism, hit 20 home runs before the All-Star break, had a good time, came out of the All-Star break, he hit 6 for the rest of the year. And the capital of the universe has never stopped talking since about how he must have messed up his habits. Did he stay up too late? Did he alter his swing? Did he tear a muscle? Jordan. You know what? Like I say, Marsha. You know what I'm going to bring up next. What is the most powerful force in the universe? The undertow to our statistical oceans. What pulls everything back to predictable results, even though people want to blame it on anything else in the world?
Is that Sarah?
In real life, it is. But in baseball analytics, it's regression to the mean. This is a particularly savage form of what we call regression to the mean, which is the tendency of everything. Whether you're really low or you're really high, you should never make decisions in life when you're really depressed or when you're really euphoric, because things will drag you back to your personal middle over time. It happens to everything. It happens to everything.
What if you don't have a personal middle and you're just depressed all the time?
Well, then
by the state of the world.
Well, then actually that's your personal middle, Jordan. Like for you, I'm serious about this. If you take a bunch of SAT practice tests and you score 1,400 on them, okay? Then the day of the test, you score 1,100. Then you enroll in a test prep course because you panic and you go back. You know what you're probably likely to score? 1,400, because that's what your true average was. And the company who administers all those practice exams and makes you pay all that money for the tutors.
I think you're triggering people with SAT talk. Let's talk about home runs.
I'm just saying, there's all kinds of people ready to claim credit for improvements or declines in the world that are just regressing to the mean.
All right, so let's talk about that from a home run perspective. As Peter
bring me back, Jordan.
As Peter likes to say, there are 2 things that need to happen for a home run to occur. You have to hit the ball far and it has to be high enough to go over a wall.
That is one of the fundamental lessons of calculus level analytics.
Yeah.
You got to hit the ball hard and it has to go over a wall. 2
Okay.
pieces to that puzzle.
Right. So one of the things you can measure then is you want to see how often a guy's hitting a fly ball, right?
Yes. And that is kind of like a fingerprint. That's a characteristic that a batter carries with him. Aaron Judge always hits a ton of fly balls. Now, the past few years, batters have learned to adjust their launch angles. So from season to season, you can train. You see guys like Dalton Varsho, Anthony Santander, Willie Adames, favorite of yours and mine, who have drastically increased their fly ball percentages by increasing their launch angles. But week to week to week or month to month, it really stays the same.
But the big thing is not it. Yes, obviously it helps to hit more raw fly balls, but also league wide, there's a general average of how many fly balls turn into home runs, right? It's about what, 20, 20.
No, it's down. It's around 12, 15%.
12%. Okay.
All right. So that your home runs per fly ball, unlike your fly ball rate, that changes all the time. Look, all kinds of things.
Peter,
I mean, Jordan, the ballparks, the weather, luck, all affects how many of your fly balls turn into home runs.
Okay. So if I were to say, listeners, watchers, readers, whomever, there's a guy right now who has turned 31% of his fly balls into home runs. What should be the obvious response?
The obvious response will be that however fortunate he was for that to happen so far, and however warmly he may be invited to the home run derby as a result, that number is going to plunge in the second half.
And that player's name is Gunnar Henderson, and he has has 27 home runs.
Orioles fans are so sensitive about having their team called lucky or fortunate or anything except a great dynasty. You know this. It's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way.
Right. He will be participating in the home run derby. He's the greatest young thing since I was a young thing. And
Jordan, that's back in the days of Stan Musial.
Look, I will say this in his defense, his hard hit rate is fantastic. It's 46%. So he may be hitting the ball harder than most other people, but still, as we've seen, and I want you to explain through the historical research, a 31% home run to fly ball rate is just simply not sustainable.
Jordan, over the past 5 years, there have been 36 batters, okay, who finished the first half of the season with a home run to fly ball rate of 25% or more, substantially below where Henderson is now. 28% of them saw their overall home run rate decline in the second half, fueled by declines in their home run per fly ball rate. It's just that simple. The weather changes, your luck changes, sometimes the defense changes, the ballparks change. Nobody can keep up. Very few people can keep up a 30% rate. 18 of the top 20 guys in this category declined. The only guy who didn't decline, who did it twice, is your guy, Aaron Judge.
Right. Which I think we can, if we really wanted to go down a rabbit hole, we could probably talk about that. He just hits the ball harder and further than anyone. So,
right.
So it makes sense that a higher ratio of his fly balls would turn into home runs. But this is clear, convincing evidence. And it's not the only statistical evidence out there that there's no home run derby curse from players changing their swing. There's a home run derby curse because, again, as we like to say, they invite players to the home run derby who have big first halves. So almost by definition, those first halves are at least somewhat buffered by good fortune. If you have a lot of home runs, things have probably been working in your favor. So hit us with a couple other numbers. Yeah,
Jordan, look, even Shohei Ohtani, okay, in 2021, he hit 33 home runs before the All-Star break. But Jordan, 2 out of every 5 of his fly balls were going over walls. He had a fly ball rate to home run rate of 38.4%. In the second half, he hit only 13 home runs. Now, he finished the year with 46 home runs. Very impressive. But that rate dropped in the second half. Last year, 5 of the guys in the home run derby hit fewer home runs per plate appearance in the second half because their home run to fly ball rates dropped. I mean, and some of the times you can sense that some of these guys are a little bit lucky in the first place. I mean, Luis Robert, right? Last year, 26 home runs in the first half. He had an insane home run to fly ball rate. He dropped off to 12 home runs in the second half. Since the year 2000, okay, 70% of the players in the home run derby have seen their home run rates go down in the second half. That's why people think there's a curse. But since the beginning of being able to track batted ball data in 2016, 69% of the home run derby participants, the same number, 7 out of 10, have seen their home runs for fly balls go down. Just regression to the mean.
Right. So you can continue to say, well, they've done something to their swing that's affecting 70% of them, but not the other 30%. Or you can see these two perfectly linked numbers, home runs per fly ball, home runs per plate appearance, and realize that's what's going on.
Now, look, I've gotten tired of saying there's no such thing as curses, blah, 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 blah. Just think about it this way. If you get bad luck, you can consider that a curse. If you have luck worse than you had yesterday, is that a curse? If you think so, well, then there is a home run derby curse, but it's explainable just by random luck.
Right. So before we move on to the National Basketball Association, we've got 6 guys officially in the contest right now. As the aforementioned Gunnar Henderson, home run derby veteran Pete Alonso, Alec Boom Boom Boom, Bobby Witt Jr., Marcel Ozuna, and Jose Ramirez. Peter, what I want to do, I want us to pick our most likely winner out of that group, but then when we get odds after the 7th and 8th participants are announced, maybe on weekend, we'll go on Twitter, or X as the kids call it, and actually make an official pick with the odds. But let's start with these 6. Peter, is there one guy you're leaning toward out of them? Forget about odds, just most likely to win.
I think motivation might actually matter in this contest. Pete Alonso likes to call himself the best power hitter in the game. He's won this twice before. The record would be 3. He has a fly ball rate of over 44%. He also has the hardest hit home run all year of any of the contestants at almost 116 miles an hour. And in a very limited sample, he slugged 770, 769 at Arlington. And only a few at-bats there, but he's not going to be uncomfortable in that ballpark. I love him. And just in case you're looking for value now, I mean, he'd probably be the favorite.
Right.
And I know we don't have the odds yet, but I like Jose Ramirez too. Out of nowhere, Jordan, Jose Ramirez has 23 home runs already. Sneaky MVP candidate, highest fly ball rate of anybody in the contest. Keep an eye on him.
I've got my eye on Bobby Witt Jr. He hits a lot of fly balls, 45% of the balls off his bat. So he generates what you need to hit a home run. He hasn't been lucky at all. His home runs per fly ball rate is just 10.8% this year. Hits a lot of ball hard, good exit velocity, good launch angle, et cetera, et cetera. So I think he's not going to be one of the favorites. So I'm looking to see what his numbers at. There could be value there.
And we love Gunnar Henderson. It's just, you cannot bet on him to have a first half equal as second half equal to his first half in power numbers.
Right. And by the way, he's still a great all-around player who does a lot of other things. He's just not going to, there's nothing to suggest that he should hit 27 home runs in the second half of the season the way he did in the first. It's just not statistically sustainable unless something else changes.
And that really grinds your gears, doesn't it?
It really grinds my gears, but not as much as living through a summer without basketball. The dust has settled on the off season, and we will be back to discuss it right after this.